All right, welcome to hour 2. Tim, let's jump into Twitter. Let's just kind of – and some of this stuff we're just going to browse over real quick because we kind of hit on it since Jim brought up the pass rush and other people in the chat were bringing up the defense. Let's check on the poll question real quick, though. I'll read it off to you guys. As far as top needs on YouTube, 59% corner, 24% defensive tackle, 9% linebacker, 7% edge. So it's corner, then D tackle, and it's not even close. Corner's running away with it, cornerback. On Twitter – let me refresh this. The Twitter poll question is 66% cornerback, 15% edge, 12% linebacker, 5% defensive tackle is how that sits. So I appreciate everybody voting. I think that the lead is extended to a point where they're not going to come back, right? It's that the defensive tackle is not going to come back and beat corner. So the fans have spoken. They think that cornerback is definitely the top need going into this offseason. And people are going, Clayton, why are you doing the season ain't over? Because we forget how we felt going into the last quarter of the season. It's usually the last game that you think about, right? That you go, oh, crap, we need this. So it's important as you're coming down the stretch, here is what we thought, hey, this is really where we have a big need. And I think everyone would agree if Jair hadn't been hurt most of the year, then we probably wouldn't even have cornerback listed there, right, as the top need. It would probably be – because he's grading out like as the 11th best corner in the game. I think his passer rating when targeted, he's somewhere around 22, so he's a legit starting corner. You probably wouldn't be thinking about it as much. So it is important to kind of see where we were at going into the last 4 games of the year. Now, NBC Sports tweeted this out. Packers have come out on top against the Seahawks in recent meetings. More of the same on Sunday night, ? So – going back to 2016, the Packers defeated the Seahawks 30-18. Then in 2017, the Packers defeat the Seahawks 17-9. In 2018, the Seahawks won that game 27-24. That was in Seattle. We always struggle in Seattle, seems like, as an organization. Then in 2020, the Packers won that matchup at Lambeau Field 28-23. And then in 2021, they beat the Seahawks 17-0. I was actually at that game. That was a fun game to watch in person for sure. I want to say that was Monday Night Football, I believe, if I remember correctly. So, all right. So just wanted to kind of give you guys a recent history there. It's been since, since 2008, I think, Tim, since we've won in Seattle. So,
yeah,
Packers got a chance to kind of put that to bed, right? And we'll
need to get it done. Need to be looking like that after the game.
Exactly. Pampered. Nick McSwain said, haven't won in Seattle since 2008, so he did confirm that. There you go. All right. Fred McFarley said Jair was active November 17th against the Bears, but couldn't finish the game. That's when we realized, okay, it's worse than we thought there. So if it was
there's a great example, right? You can't – I don't want to hear the whole, oh, he's not trying to play or he doesn't want to – that's BS. Josh's trying to be on the field, and he's having setbacks.
And November 17th versus the Bears, if that's when he truly tore the PCL, right, then that's week 11. It's only been 3 weeks since that.
Yeah.
So take that into consideration too, right? And again, they're not going to give you all the information of here's exactly when this happened. The team's going to keep that close to the
vest. It does look like something happened in Jacksonville, right? And he tried to make a go of it, made a go of it against the Bears, and then really tweaked something, and here we are. That's what it looks like to me.
Definitely. All right. Up next, let's look at this right here. Let's talk a little bit of prospects. And listen, I know there's some people that don't even want to think about the draft right now, just like there's some people that don't even want to think about contracts. I want to be really, really clear here, okay? You are welcome to tune in when you don't want to, okay? If this doesn't interest you, thank y'all for dropping by. Hit that like button for us, and we'll see you tomorrow, see you tonight, okay? But we're always going to look at this through the eyes of the team. What's the team focused on right now, right? It's not just, they're focused on the season at hand and the playoffs coming up, but also the front office guys, they're scouting their asses off right now. And they're out here looking at these college football playoffs. I guarantee you they're going, all right, let's see who rises to the occasion on the big stage, because that could translate over to the National Football League. So what I went and did, just to give you some of the top prospects real quick, I said of the current leading NFL prospects, according to the Consensus Big Board, there are only 3 of the top 10 participating in college football playoffs, okay? So the number 5 overall prospect, according to the consensus big board, is Abdul Carter, edge defender from Penn State. Number 9 is Kelvin Banks, offensive tackle from Texas. And then number 10 is Michael, I'm not sure how he pronounces it, Williams, edge defender from Georgia. So you've got, those are some of the big names that are projected to go in the top 10, according to the consensus big board right now, that are going to be playing in the playoffs. So look for Penn State's edge defender, Abdul Carter, Texas's offensive tackle, Kelvin Banks, and then Georgia's edge defender, Michael Williams. All right. Now, if you look at that top 10, and we extended it here, right, here are your top 10 prospects according to the consensus big board right now. Shadir Sanders, number 1 in the league right now, or number 1 in the consensus big board, quarterback out of Colorado. They got him number 1. They got him projected going number 1 to the Raiders as it sits right now. Number 2, his teammate, Travis Hunter, cornerback / wide receiver, one of the most exciting football players you've seen come out of college since Charles Woodson. And I know that's a bold statement, but it's so true, man. This dude plays both sides of the ball, and he's just a freaking football player with the right attitude. He's as country as cornbread. It's so cool seeing him excel. That dude's going to make he has earned every dime he's going to make at the National Football League level. So he's projected to go number 3 to the Patriots. Number 3, Cam Ward, quarterback from Miami. No one picked him to be the top quarterback in this draft. And it's the perfect example of why it's important for us to really focus on college football when you get a chance. Cam Ward is playing his ass off. He's hands down leading in EPA per drop back. The dude is just a phenomenal quarterback at the college level. Again, he plays for Miami. Unfortunately, Miami got snubbed out of the playoffs, so we won't be seeing him in the playoffs. That's a missed opportunity, Tim, to see Shadur Sanders and Cam Ward in a playoff atmosphere would have been great. But again, their team didn't make it. So
playoffs.
Number 4, Mason Graham, defensive lineman from Michigan. He's projected to go to the Jets. Let me back up. Cam Ward is projected to go to the Giants, and Travis Hunter was projected to go to the Patriots.
Jets better trade up and try and get Cam Ward.
So you've got next, the Jets taking Mason Graham at number 7, defensive lineman from Michigan. At number 5, you got Abdul Carter. He's in the playoffs. We talked about that. Edge defender out of Penn State. He's projected to go number 4 to Carolina. So he is projected to be the top edge defender taken in the draft as it sits right now here on December 14th. Number 6, I can't say that first name, but it's McMillan, wide receiver out of Arizona. Evidently a stud. He's peaked at 4. He's sitting at 6. He's projected to go number 6 to the Titans. Tataria. Yeah. Anyway, that's Mr. McMillan. That's
T-Mac. Call him T-Mac. T-Mac.
Old man McMillan's boy is who that is. All right. Number 7, you got Will Johnson. He is Mason Graham's teammate at Michigan, cornerback. He's projected to go number 5 to the Jacksonville Jaguars. So there's your second cornerback to go, depending on if a team wants to use Travis Hunter as a corner or a wide receiver. The consensus big board has him listed as a corner. Number 8, Will Campbell, offensive tackle from LSU, projected to go number 9 to the Bears. The Bears will probably screw that up. That's what they need, though. They need offensive line help for sure. They need to build the trenches. Number 9, you got Kelvin Banks, offensive tackle from Texas. He peaked at 3, sitting at 9. No projection for him as it sits right now, but he's a top 10 prospect. And then at number 10, you got Michael Williams, edge defender from Georgia. He's projected to go number 11 to the Saints. He peaked at 6, is currently sitting at 10. So that's how that sits right there. And here's just a quick look at the playoff bracket in case you guys want to try to check it out. We have the schedule as well. Matter of fact, we can just pop that up real quick, and then we're going to move through this quick. So the college football playoffs, and you got the dates listed here. It's probably hard for y'all to read. I'll read it off. You got Clemson at Texas. That's going to be December 21st, right? So next week, 4 p.m. kickoff, all right? And then you've got Tennessee at Ohio State on December 21st. That's going to be at 8 p.m. on ABC and ESPN. Then we have, actually earlier that day, SMU at Penn State. That's a 12 noon kickoff on December 21st. One day before that, Friday night, I think it is, you got Indiana Hoosiers traveling to South Bend, Indiana to face my Notre Dame Fighting Irish, number 17 in the country. That's going to be December 20th, 8 o'clock. That's going to be on ABC and NBC. So those are ABC and ESPN. I apologize. Those are going to be the first games of the playoffs if you want to tune in for that. So, again, those teams are, you got Clemson, Texas, you got Arizona State, Tennessee, Ohio State, Oregon, SMU, Penn State, Boise State, who's got the best running back in the league. He's the number 11 prospect going into the draft as it sits right now, according to the consensus big board. Indiana, Notre Dame, and then, of course, Georgia is how that sits. So that is your early college football playoff bracket. Like I said, just wanted to hit on it real quick, give you guys an idea of how that looks going into the playoffs there. So
playoffs?
we should dive a little deeper into the consensus big board, Tim. I can pull it up, or do you think we should? What do you think? What would you like to do here, man?
I don't want to get too caught up in the draft talk just yet, but it's always good to have a ear to the streets and keep your eyes on the future. I will say this: if we're talking about making improvements to this team, I would like to see Goody go ahead and knock another free agent signing out of the park, kind of like he did with Xavier McKinney. And I don't know if maybe it's going to be tough pickings on the defensive line aspect, but maybe there's a corner out there, or there will be a corner that we can snag in free agency to add to that secondary, and then we'll see where Ja's at, and if things go south with Jair, we'll have another veteran established corner that hopefully can be available. Just saying that's an option too, because it's so rare we see big moves in free agency, with the Packers, but we saw a really nice one this year, bringing Xavier McKinney in. So I got to think Goody might have more tricks up his sleeve here, and we could see a combination of, drafting guys as well as maybe another big free agent signing, hopefully.
Yeah. Now, when you look at, we've talked about PFF grades, right? And when we looked at the cornerback position, we said Jair was the number 11 graded corner. Keyshawn Nixon was number 49. Then I think it was Valentine at 96 and Stokes at 98. Right. So we kind of talked about, if you were to just take those grades into consideration, you go, cornerback's good, guys. We got a solid number 1 corner when he's healthy. Right. We're going to assume he's going to come back healthy, at least to this point. You get the number 49 corner. That's a solid number 2 corner. Right. And Keyshawn Nixon. And you got a couple of guys that are right there in the ballpark of the 90s that can play that. So you might draft 1 or 2 here or there, maybe look to improve the room a little bit. That's not the only thing that's important, though. Okay. So when you go to passer rating when targeted, which is what we got pulled up here, same PFF website, and we sorted by passer rating when targeted, Jair drops from 11 to 25. So he's at the 25th best passer rating when targeted amongst cornerbacks who meet the minimum criteria, which was 20% of the snaps. Okay. So we filtered out the guys who had less than 20% of the snaps of the top corners in the game. Now, when we slide on down, let's see where the next Packer is and who it is. As we get a little lower on the list here, got to go pretty far down, Tim. Keyshawn Nixon is 87th in passer rating when targeted. Okay. So what would that suggest? He's closer to a number 3 corner as opposed to a 2. So again, the grades suggest that he's the 49th best corner, but the passer rating when targeted, which is strictly a coverage metric, right? A coverage stat, suggests that he's closer to the 90 mark, sitting at 87. Now, right behind him, Carrington Valentine at 88. So if you go strictly off passer rating when targeted, that would suggest that Carrington Valentine is just as good as Keyshawn Nixon in coverage. Okay. Now we know
I'm rooting for him to take another step. It's time, man. And tomorrow night will be a great opportunity for him to really step up and take that next step forward in his development. Because I think he's a better player than, we kind of give him credit for. And he's also a better player than really the numbers have indicated. You know what I mean? So hopefully going up against top tier receiver talent here is going to bring the best out of CV.
Right. And it's why the fan base is so frustrated that Eric Stokes continues to get these reps, these valuable reps over Carrington, or at least there's a rotation there, because Stokes isn't under contract next year. Valentine's playing just as good, if not better, than Stokes, and he's under contract for the next 3 years. It's like, why not go ahead and all right, this is our guy.
Unless they're thinking throw Stokes out there and God forbid something happens, at least it happens to him and not to a guy that we're kind of building our future around in the cornerback room. It sounds kind of brutal, but I mean, it's a business. It's a brutal game. You got to be thinking we're a little thin at corner now. We didn't pick up the option on Stokes. All signs point to him being gone. We might as well, burn the fuel out of the tank before we park the car. Right. So I don't know, but we'll get an opportunity now to see. Without Jair out there, their rotation, nothing. They're both going to be on the field at the same time, is what it looks like.
Yeah, exactly. All right, let's see here. Going back to the chat real quick, we'll clean these up, and then we'll get back to Carrington Valentine, Keyshawn Nixon, these guys. We'll show you where Eric Stokes is, too. Jen Wright says Jair has matured this year. I would agree with that. Would you agree with that, Tim? It seems like he's changed a little bit there.
I think ever since the suspension, I think that was a wake-up call. And we saw a change in his not a change in his personality or a change in who he is, but a change in the way he conducts himself when he's working. And I would agree with Jen there. I think he's matured a lot.
Yeah. Fred McFarley says, I agree, Tim. Free agent cornerback. He struggles drafting them. Think about that. Goody drafting corners. Obviously Eric Stokes, I think it was a miss, right? What other corner has he drafted? I'm trying to think here, Tim. Help me out. Is there another one that comes to mind? I know we try to key in on first rounders, but when was the last time that Goody drafted a corner? Like last year, Kalen King was a 7th round pick.
Jair.
Yeah. I mean, well, Jair was that a Goody pick or was that a
I thought that was Goody's first draft, wasn't it?
So he did draft Jair. I think, again, is that a hit or a miss? I don't think there's a fan that would say that's a miss, right? He's played really good football when he's on the field, right?
Yep.
So, yeah. Again, when you go to attack free agency with cornerback, I wouldn't want them to go like, hey, let's go get the best cornerback because the market's going to be crazy, right?
Forgot about Josh Jackson, Fred McFarley in the chat. Remember Josh Jackson? That didn't turn out too well.
Wasn't there another corner they took that year? Was that the year they took Jair? I think it was. They took Jair. They took Jair over Josh Jackson, right? And I remember we ended up people were upset that they didn't take Josh Jackson, and then they ended up getting Josh Jackson, I think, like a round or two later, if I remember correctly. I could be wrong there.
Samar Jean Charles. Got Jared in the chat. Yeah.
Work out, did it?
That didn't. Yep. Here's a guy.
So here's how I would approach cornerback and free agency if we decide, hey, that's the way to go. You go and you pull all of the cornerbacks that are going to be free agents. First of all, you got to make sure you're not setting yourself up for failure in a sense that some of these guys are going to get franchise tagged. They're going to get signed. It's going to look like there's all these guys in free agency. And then when free agency opens, a third of them are gone, right? So you got to kind of know what that final list is going to be. And when you get to that point, what I would do is pull all them. And what Goody will probably do is he'll pull up all of his draft grades for all those. And the guys that he had high draft grades, they'll go to the top. And then they'll take that list, filter it on down, and watch the NFL tape of them, and then filter that down to a few. I think that's honestly how most teams approach free agency. They start with their draft grade. How do we feel about them coming out of college? If it was the same regime, obviously, if a new regime comes in, they'll bring their scouting department information with them as opposed to keeping the Packers. If it was another scouting department that was gone, that obviously doesn't apply, though, with the Packers. So let's see. Nick McSwain said there's quite a few cornerback free agents next year. No idea who will actually be available. That's what we were just saying, Nick, right? Yep. And then CJN says 23 or 25 million in cap next year. We can definitely go after a need. Now, you got to keep in mind that may be the cap space next year, but Jordan Love's contract really starts to hit the following year. Rashawn Gary's number jumps a bit, too. Now, that can be –
you got to pay Zach Tom, too.
Zach Tom's going to get paid, no doubt about it. There's going to be some guys on this roster now that aren't going to be here when we make that decision, that's for sure. Like, I think Kenny Clark will probably get restructured. I think Rashawn Gary's will get restructured at some point where you'll give him more guaranteed money but reduce the cap hit overall. I think that'll probably happen. We don't want to get too deep in the weeds with salary cap talk here. We could do a whole episode on that. I love that stuff. I just try not to bore people with the things that I like. Yeah, that's the only thing I would push back on a little bit there, CJ. And just because you got 23 or 25 million in cap next year doesn't mean you can spend all that, right? And they like to operate with like 7 to 10 million. Some people say 5 million.
We got to deduct that operating budget amount out of there.
Exactly. So that, and then also you're looking to move money around to free up cap for the future too. Goody tends to lean in that direction as opposed to spin right now, right? And I think I agree with the way Goody approaches that too. I think he handles the cap. He kind of went all in with Rodgers there towards the end, right? Where we were like, hey, let's start really voiding some years and pushing it out and try to keep some guys here. And then once Rodgers left, all right, let's clean it up a bit. Now we're right back to the point where it's okay. Do we go all in? So CJ might be onto something though. We might look up next year and Goody goes, hey, let's restructure these contracts, add 2 or 3 voidable years on each of them, free up some cap space, and let's go all in right now for a 2-year window. That could happen. Could happen.
Yep.
All right, appreciate that. And then Chase Green said, forget corner and free agent in the first 4 rounds of the draft. The Packers have been a good team for decades because of O-line, D-line, and quarterback. Let's not change our ways and draft or sign a corner who stinks. I don't think anybody wants to sign a corner who stinks, but I understand what you're saying. He's going to prioritize O-line and D-line. It's what we've always done. Precedent has been set there. I don't think they'll break the bank to go get a corner. I hope they don't.
We went O-line first round this year. Let's hope this next draft is D-line first round, depending on how it stacks out.
Yeah, it's always going to come down to best player available. But if you've got that cluster, let the positions of need be that cluster buster for sure. So
yep.
I'm really – that's why we were thinking about pulling up the prospects to look at the top defensive line prospects and where they're falling. And do we got a few in range? But we'll do that for another day for sure. Fred McFarley says Goot can teach a master class in drafting wide receivers, needs a tutor for cornerback. Hey, GMs and scouts are good at some things and not so good at others, right? I'm just bad at everything. That's the way that is.
You hurt me, Brett.
Exactly. So moving back along through this list here, Keyshawn Nixon, the 87th best passer rating when targeted, and that's filtering out that 20% noise we talked about in terms of snap percentage. Carrington Valentine at 88, and then Eric Stokes is at 98. Okay, that's where they're ranking in passer rating when targeted. So it's clear that Carrington Valentine is better than Eric Stokes. Like, that's where I'm having a hard time. Like, Carrington Valentine has a better passer rating when targeted. He has a better PFF grade. He's got more years on his contract, which would suggest, hey, let's get him some meaningful reps now so he'll be ready for next year too. I just don't understand the whole – and again, I'm not being egotistical. I'm not saying Goody's stupid for doing this. I'm trying to get my head around it. Like, why does Brian Gutekunst and Matt LaFleur like Eric Stokes so much over a Carrington Valentine? I just can't.
What was Stokes? Was he wasn't a first-round pick,
No,
right?
he was a first-round pick. Yeah, that was another corner we took.
He was. Okay, well, there you go. That explains. We all know we stick with the first-round pick in Green Bay. We know that. Darnell Savage comes to mind. Luckily, though, with Stokes, though, see, that's the thing. Maybe they have tempered expectations and reality is setting in. That's why they didn't pick up the option. I think not picking up the 4th-year option on Stokes was a signal to him that, hey, you got to prove it prove it this year, and we can bring you back into the fold, sign you a 2-3 year deal or something. But we haven't seen that yet this year.
I think people truly don't understand what the 5th-year option, what teams use it for, and what the value is. I really believe that because, like, they think, it's one of those things that's like it's a benefit for the player. It's not a benefit for the player at all. It's a benefit for the team to go, hey, this dude is the best at his craft, one of the top 5. We can get him on another 1-year deal and bridge the gap to that extension. That's what was so mind-boggling about Savage is, like, when they picked up that 5th-year option, I threw my hands up and said, I don't know what the hell I'm talking about.
I don't want to pat you on the butt and you poop my hands. So,
but then when they refused Eric Stokes, it's like, okay, I get that, right? Because why would you make Eric Stokes? Why would you put the label on him that, hey, this is that dude, our cornerback of the future? There's just seen nothing there. So, and maybe it was Savage, Tim. Maybe it was, hey, we're worried that we won't have, like, if he goes, we're really screwed at safety, right?
Right. Well, that's evident. We'll look at the Band-Aids that we attempted to put on that safety room while he was here. We rotated guys in. We had the Adrian Amos experience. We, brought Jonathan Owens in and, trying to find a piece to stick back there with him. Mm-hmm. And it just ultimately never worked out.
Yeah, for sure. So, again, just want to take a quick look at the cornerback room. Let's see if there's another Packer. I doubt there is because no one's played meaningful snaps. Yeah, that's pretty much it. So,
like I will say, though, with Stokes, they were high on him just coming out of that Georgia defense, right? That's what we heard in that draft, right? Oh, he was. That was the crazy thing. I believe he had the reputation of being a man,
absolutely,
man type of corner.
And there was an article written last year, Tim, that he's one of the fastest players in the top 20 fastest players in the league. So, again, 1st-round pick, you fall in love with the athleticism. It's like, damn.
And he had an excellent rookie season. And then,
let's see here. Let's go back through it here. Let's see if he actually did. Yeah. So remember, we always talk about if you grade out in the 60s as a rookie, it's usually a great sign, right? 65.5 for him as rookie year, right? So it's like, okay, we got something. I remember us thinking that.
yep.
Then 2022, 53.7.
Then the injury.
2023 was the injury, 51 point, but he was a 51.5 before the injury. It wasn't like he was playing hurt. Oh, they shut him down. Like the injury happened, right? So he was already declining before he got hurt, albeit there was only 110 snaps.
I was going to say it happened pretty early. You know, not a lot of snaps.
Yeah. And then, of course, this year, a 53.2. So you have to go off, hey, look, he's a 50s player. That's what he is, right?
Right.
And then, again, that rookie year, though, man, with 988 snaps, it was promising. It's like, holy cow, Jair one side, Stokes on the other. This is exciting. But, again, that was the year, too, if I remember correctly. I want to say when Stokes came on, Jair took a dip back on grade, and they had switched sides. And I remember mentioning that hey, maybe it's a dominant eye thing for Jair. Yep. But, you know, we're trying to piece Stokes.
Or Stokes, you know, we talked about him with, you know, tracking the ball in flight kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
I just think he's due, man. I'm going to try and be positive. I think we're going to get at least one good game out of Eric Stokes before it's all said and done, man. And I'm hoping it's tomorrow night because, you know, there's this receiving core in Seattle. It's, you know, kind of a cause for concern going up against this banged up Packers secondary.
Yeah. And when you look at Keyshawn Nixon and how he's graded out over his career, 30.6, 44.6, 77.4, 61.2, 60, 67.2. So that would suggest he's probably like a 65 player. And right now, with the way the cornerback room is stacked up, like you'll take that. Like that's one of your better corners.
You say right? He was a 65 player?
65%.
65%. That's if you take into consideration the 77.4, right? The 61.2, the 60, and the 67. Now, keep in mind that 77.4 only 81 snaps, right, in Vegas that year. So last year, I think, was the big thing, 937 snaps, and he graded out a 60. Like, listen, I know that's not great, but that's, hey, all right. When you start closing in on 65, you're all right. You can play in this league type thing, right? So that's where Keyshawn Nixon is set. I want to look at Carrington Valentine. I know it's just 2 years in, but I'm trying to remember what he did last year. I'm pretty sure he graded out in the 50s last year. And this year he's in the upper 50s. So I want to see if there's actual progress there or not real quick. And then we'll move along to the next topic if we have time here. Let's see here. Green Bay. Give me just a second. Where are these guys at? Where you guys at? Carrington Valentine. Let's see what we got here. So Carrington last year, 57.5, this year 53.9. So according to this, a step back, but keep in mind last year 856 snaps, right?
That's it. So I mean the guy's playing less. Yeah. You know, it's kind of hard to maintain your level of play if it's not consistent.
Yeah.
So that adds fuel to your point. Why is Stokes out snapping Valentine in some of these scenarios? I just don't get it.
It doesn't make any sense to me, man. And the only thing I could come up with is they're expecting it to pop for Stokes any minute because he's still coming off of that injury. Like, okay, it's going to click. It's going to click. He's close. And that's where you got to really put the ego in check and go, all right, Hafley knows what he's doing. He's supposedly the cornerback whisperer, the DB whisperer, right? Not my opinion. That's what people like Richard Sherman and other great corners that have played for him have said. So we'll see, man. We'll see. But again, I can understand the concern around the cornerback position that fans think, hey, that's one of our top needs. Because again, if Jair is not, if he plays in less than 75% of the snaps next year, then you don't address it going into the year, kind of going ahead, coming back here, you're going to be in a tough situation. But same time, EPA per drop back, the Packers are a legit top 10 passing defense right now too. So you got to take that into consideration, right? It's like, it's working. It's just that emotional charge of during the game, oh crap, there's another 16-yard completion. Fire Joe Barry. So, Coach Lynn, he hit the nail on the head too. This Josh situation is so frustrating because you know what he can be. You know what he can be. So
things could be a lot worse. I could be a Bears fan.
All right. Let's see here. What else do we want to hit on? We don't have anything marked. We're good there. We're all caught up in the chat. Let's jump over real quick to, you know what, since we just got 5 minutes, Tim, and it won't be too excruciating, let's jump into the draft board real quick.
Oh, snap. Mock draft time. Let's go.
Let's see what the defensive line looks like in terms of consensus big board real quick, okay? Mason Graham, number 4 overall prospect out of Michigan. Kenneth Grant, number 18 out of Michigan. Walter Nolan, number 24 out of Ole Miss. Shamar Stewart, number 26 out of Texas A&M. Number 27, Derek Harmon, defensive lineman out of Oregon. He will be in the playoffs, so that's a guy to key in on, right? He's, like I said, out of Oregon. He's sitting in the 27th spot, projected to go number 17. And then number 32, Talik Williams, defensive lineman out of Ohio State. He'll be in the playoffs. And then Deion Walker for Kentucky. He plays for Kentucky, so of course he won't be in the playoffs. He's a stud, though. I watched him last couple of years in Kentucky. He's a big old boy, too, and he's got a lot of athleticism, number 33 overall, peaked at 14. TJ Sanders out of South Carolina, defensive lineman. So what you're really looking at here is probably from Shamar Stewart down to about Jordan Birch or in that wheelhouse that the Packers could potentially take a defensive lineman with the first or second round pick. Now let's go to cornerback since that's been the topic today. Travis Hunter, number 2 overall prospect out of Colorado. Number 7 is Will Johnson out of Michigan. Number 20 is Siobhan Ravel Jr. out of East Carolina. All right, pretty cool logo there. Number 23.
That's a cornerback name if I've ever heard one right there.
Exactly. Number 23, Benjamin Morrison, cornerback out of Notre Dame. I think he'll be gone probably before the Packers pick. Number 40, Jahdae Barron out of Texas, number 26 prospect. They have him projected to go number 26 to the Green Bay Packers. Now, again, that was for Texas, right? And you see Texas is in the college football playoffs. So look for Jahdae Barron in the college football playoff.
One of the top defenses in the country, too, Texas.
Exactly. So then you got Trey Amos out of Ole Miss at 48, and you got Maxwell Harrison out of Kentucky as well at number 56. How Coach Stoops still has a job is beyond me because he's got top prospects everywhere, and they stunk this year, Tim.
Oh, we're gonna give him some.
Should, man, you should. You know, you hurt me, Coach Stoops. That's what it should be this year. Being a Kentucky
You hurt
fan.
me, Brett.
So, Tim, any position you want to see here? Anything you want to hit on before we get ready to wrap up? We're at the hour 18 mark, so we got about 5-7 minutes, something like that.
No, well, I'll defer to Prince on this one. Show the centers. Let's add some sex appeal to our number 2.
Oh, let's do it. Interior offensive line. Now, listen, they don't show specific centers, so we'd have to do some digging to find who had snaps at the center position. But we'll talk about the interior offensive line. Tyler Booker from Alabama, number 30.
Here's the guy.
Jonah number 34 out of Arizona. All right. He's projected to go number 13 to San Francisco. So he obviously
Sabiania? Is that how you say that?
That sounds good to me. Number 52, Donovan Jackson out of Ohio State. So he'll be in the playoff. Look for him. All right. Donovan Jackson, interior offensive lineman, Ohio State. Armand Mimbo out of Missouri, number 73. You got Tate Ratledge, number 78 out of Georgia. And then number 109, Dylan Fairchild out of Georgia. So you got a couple of Georgia Bulldogs playing together there in the interior offensive line. Now, here's the thing, too. When we talk about
– do we draft guys from Georgia in Green Bay? Does that happen?
I think we do. It's a little bit of a pipeline. Some people go, yeah, we do. But I know listen, I think Georgia – I think they're producing good football players. It just hasn't panned out for us as well as we've once seen that we've taken, 3 first-round picks now, right? So all 3 are – starters, I guess you could say, right? But nonetheless, when we say interior offensive line, or we're talking specifically center, keep in mind, guys, that if they like one of these guys at guard, right, and we really should be looking at tackles because they love drafting tackles and converting them to guard, right? But if they like one of these guys at guard, then you're looking at Elton Jenkins probably kicking the center. That's what it feels like to me. Zach Tom's going to stay at tackle. Elton Jenkins could
potentially – Zach Tom wants tackle money.
Yeah,
that's the other thing. So, yeah.
And if one of these interior offensive linemen are predominantly centers, though, then maybe you draft one of these guys, and of course you keep Elton Jenkins at left guard. That could be a thing too. And you could continue with the rotation there with Sean Ryan and Jordan Morgan at right guard until one just absolutely runs away with it. So, yeah, like right here, and listen, I know the Goody lovers are going to roast me here for even talking about this. Okay. But I've been roasted before. I'll be roasted again. We're going to talk about it a little bit. Siggy in the chat says, we picked Stokes at 29 over Chargers Asante Samuel at 47 in the 2021 draft. That's a real thing, right? If his numbers are correct there, that's a problem. Asante Samuel Jr., where does he grade out? Because I feel like he was toward the top. We already closed it out, didn't we?
He's definitely top 25-ish range.
Yeah, I want to say he's up there. So now, again, people in the chat, I know what you're thinking. We took Josh Myers over Creed Humphrey. That's a real thing too, right? It is. And it sucks, but
Evan King over TJ Watt. We'll never forget that one.
Everybody still talks about it. And listen, I understand the people that get frustrated over that because that's a real thing. I don't understand the people that get pissed when people point it out, though. You know what I mean? Because it's like, you can redraft today. You're telling me you wouldn't take that player? Well, yeah, but still, everybody misses. That's a boring conversation to just say, well, everybody, okay, there's no reason to talk about any of this. Everybody, end all your Packer podcasts. We can't talk football anymore because none of this matters, is what you're saying. That's silly. That's silly talk. So I guarantee you the front office isn't sitting back going, I know we missed on that, but who gives a crap? They're going, how did we miss on this? Yep. I promise you that. So All Good says, what about edge? Edge defender, Abdul Carter with Penn State, number 5. Mikael Williams at number 10. James Pierce Jr., pretty solid player out of Tennessee. I've watched him play a lot. He peaked at 1. He's now at 14. Nick Scourton, I hope I'm saying that right, number 15 out of Texas A&M. Landon Jackson out of Arkansas at number 35. JT Tuamaloa, I think I've got that. Yeah, I think we got that. Out of Ohio State, number 37. Jack Sawyer, I think he's a team captain at Ohio State, number 39. Now, when you get two of the teammates together like that, you got to be careful because most of the time it's because one's drawing more attention than the other, and that's what's making the other dude look better. We've seen that time and time again. I'll give you an example. PFF, when Chase Winovich and Rashawn Gary came out in the draft, they were on the same Michigan defensive line, okay? When they came out in the draft, PFF was saying Chase Winovich is going to be the better pro. Rashawn Gary's the weaker of the two. You're going to see this. Chase Winovich is no longer in the league, to the best of my knowledge. Rashawn Gary is one of the top edge defenders in the league. Like I said, his pressure rate right now is 3% higher than TJ Watt, who's having a down year too, but nonetheless, Rashawn Gary was the better player than Chase Winovich. There's no two ways about that. So that's an example right there, right? PFF was standing on the table of, hey, Chase Winovich is the better pass rusher and over Rashawn Gary, and they were wrong. Typically, one of the two. It's very rare that you got two guys that play alongside each other at specific positions, and one of them is not great and the other is not bad. That makes sense, Tim?
Yeah, definitely.
All right, cool. Let's see here. Look at Anton asking a tough question. Chat, if you could do it over, do you give back Reed and Wicks to get Brian Branch?
Hell no. Nope.
I'm thinking about it. I'm sitting here going, all right.
I'm not thinking about it.
Brian Branch, one of the best safeties in the league. But let me add this to it, Anton. You can't have Evan Williams, though. Which would you rather have? Let me ask it this way. Which would you rather have? Would you rather have Tay Wicks, Jaden Reed, and Evan Williams along, with McKinney, or would you rather have Brian Branch with McKinney without the others? I'm probably going with the 3 players. You know what I'm saying? So it's a good question, though. It's a good question. You're probably going to get roasted in chat the way I'm looking at it here, but
I don't care. I've been.
No, I'm not talking about you. I'm talking about. I was looking at the chat, seeing because Fred McFarley said it best. He said, "Oh, damn." This is going to be a conversation.
Here's the guy.
Let's just hit the chat real quick, though, okay? Holmes said no, okay, so he disagrees. Let's see. Things. Holmes says we don't need Branch. Coach Lynn says no. Anton said he would, of course. Fred McFarley just said, oh, damn. Holmes says Branch is dirty just like the other clown. So it's more of a personal thing there, I believe. Fred McFarley says, if you have Branch, maybe we don't sign X or draft Williams. That's what I was kind of getting at. So, yeah. I would rather have Evan Williams and X than just Branch, right? But again, you could have them both, right? So Carl Ward, last one, we got to get out of here. No, keep Reed and Wicks. So that's his opinion. There you go. All right. And Anton's trying to sell him on it now. He said, remember Brian Branch plays cornerback too. All I can think of is Danny DeVito in that movie holding up those used car keys. So, all right, that's it, guys. We're out of here. Tim, you got anything else you want to hit before we go?
No. Looking forward to pregame. Getting ready for this matchup tomorrow night. I'm sure we'll have a lot more to break down tonight as we look at the game out in Seattle, taking on the Seabirds. And, I just hope, we talk about corner. I hope we get a good game from Valentine and Stokes. I think it's time, and I think they're capable.
There you go. All right. That's going to do it, guys. We may do a morning show tomorrow, we being me, unless Tim's available too. I might. It just depends on, what's going on in the morning. We're definitely, like Tim said, going to be doing a pregame show 1.5 hours before kickoff. So we're basically an hour and a half before kickoff. We're going to take you up to about 30 minutes before kickoff, give you all the actives and inactives, get you set for the game, then give you time to grab a cold drink, settle in. And then, of course, we'll be going live immediately after the post-game show at 3 a.m., I'm sure, is what it'll feel like. So as soon as the game's over, we'll do a post-game show and bring you all that. Again, this is the final reminder. By midnight tonight, you have to be a member, a YouTube member, or a member of the PTA Posse over at Patreon. You can scan the QR code in the upper right, Packer Fan Total Access. I think it's patreon.com/Packer Fan Total Access, or just go to that QR code if it'll work for you. And make sure you're a member of one of the 3 tiers on there, okay? You do the cheapest. That's cool too. If you're a YouTube member by midnight tonight, along with those 3 tiers there, we'll put you into the contest to win the autographed Lucas Van Ness jersey like this one right here, okay? Comes with a certificate of authenticity. It's the home green style jersey. It's done by Beckett. So that's what we'll be giving away. That's just a way for us to give back to those who are supporting the channel. So make sure you get that in. Tim, thank you for your time, bub. We'll see you guys possibly tomorrow morning, but definitely for the pregame show. Everybody have a great
And we go. We out.
Bye, guys.